fuck Jarrett Rhino, let's do Barbed Wire Massacre.
Fuck yeah, let's go. We'll do it in order of the vote.
Oh yeah, because well, actually, Styles and Joe finished third, so
Yes,
and
that we'll leave it last, and we'll talk about the other stuff.
We've already fucked it. But November 19th, Impact.
Yes, that is the date.
TNA and West mentioned that Abyss and Sabu will face off in Barbed Wire Massacre. I think it was announced immediately after the Turning Point, or the Genesis match, that they will rematch again in Barbed Wire Massacre, which I kind of do like how they often do that. They're just like, here's our next pay-per-view matches, immediately. Now we're going to start building them.
I do like that. Like, I get the idea of naturally progressing the story to the point where you announce a match. But, like, just blanket statement going, boom, this is happening, boom, this is happening, boom, this is happening, can also be really interesting. Sometimes it doesn't work, like with Rhino Jarrett, where you're like, they just boom announced it and then they can build to a different match the whole month.
Which is a bit of a problem.
Yeah, but that again, that's execution, not the idea's fault.
Yeah, so on that same show, the main event is Rhino versus Abyss.
I mean, I was watching this and I was like, damn, Rhino's going to get jobbed out.
It is funny. Abyss actually loses for most of the month. I don't think it ultimately matters, but Abyss does lose all his matches this month.
He's a little Teflon at this point, it feels.
JB fails to pronounce contest as Abyss is making his entrance for this match.
Poor JB.
I'm calling him out. Mike Tenay, which he does multiple times this month, starts going on about how, like, unlike some other companies who have promised barbed wire matches and then didn't even use the barbed wire, we will be using barbed wire at Barbed Wire Massacre.
Heavy shot at AEW.
Yeah, who is that a shot at, though? I still don't even know.
Well, like, they were saying it about WCW with the first time they did barbed wire.
Yeah, they were talking about how they would use fake barbed wire, and we're like, no, fucking real barbed wire.
So I'm guessing that's what they were referring to.
Still going back to that. I don't remember WCW ever advertising a barbed wire match, though.
Well, he mentioned it.
Maybe they did. Or maybe it's someone else. I don't know.
Talking about CZW.
Those pussies over in CZW. Mitchell looks to attack Rhino with his cane. Rhino teases goring him, which allows the bitch to crotch him on the post.
A bitch?
That would be a good... how has nobody used that as a burn on Abyss? More like a bitch, am I right? That seems like something Christian will say in 2006.
Christian Cage.
Yeah. Rhino pulls a table from under the ring and sets it up in the corner. Rhino goes for the gore, but Abyss moves. Rhino crashes through the table. Abyss then takes Rhino up for the shock treatment. Lights out. Sabu with his barbed wire chair. This distraction allowed Rhino to hit the gore and win.
Which I actually thought was a pretty good finish for, like, getting out of Abyss losing.
Yeah, you can always hit the lights and Sabu will show up, and I appreciate, like, it's a distraction finish, so but at least it does play into the story, and that, like, he was just as much afraid of the fact that Sabu had barbed wire as he was the fact that Sabu was there, which is the running story through the month. December 26th Impact, Jeff Hardy faces Abyss.
I do not remember a single second of this.
They basically did the exact same finish.
Great.
They replayed the Hardy Swanton from Bound for Glory a bunch.
Bet they wish Abyss just went over, huh?
So the finish, lights out, Sabu! Hardy uses a chair a couple times without being DQ'd and hits a twist of fate to win.
It is just the same finish.
Literally identical, but the reinforcing the same story beat.
I suppose it is all building up to a tremendous bit at the pay-per-view, so I can accept it.
And also, like, the next week, we are building up to, like, a little story development in the next week, because Abyss faces the debuting Kenny King.
K-I-N-G King. Future Digital and X Division champion.
Yeah, TNA legend. Debuting here on the December 3rd episode of Impact.
I would definitely call him a TNA legend.
Abyss did his big press slam, you know, the one where he just throws the guy in the air and he comes back down, but Kenny King turned in the air and took, like, a back bump.
Again, Abyss and Rhino killing people. And Monty. It's just it is the formula, and it does work.
Abyss wins with the black hole slam. After the match, Mitchell grabs a microphone. He calls Sabu a subliterate monkey, which is a little rude. Lights out, Sabu. Abyss boots the barbed wire chair out of Sabu's hands, and then they brawl around the building, including a man that had a cardboard box on his head. I assume it's a young Kip Sabian.
Yeah, of course.
Like, no one acknowledged cardboard box man. They just brawled out of the building past him. It's like,
well, they didn't acknowledge Kip Sabian for like a year and a half, so...
It's true. It's the start of that long-term story.
Exactly.
Mitchell asks Abyss to use the barbed wire chair, and then he does before he chokeslams Sabu on a pile of rails backstage.
It's just awesome.
So the little story development there being that Abyss has finally earned his gumption to use the barbed wire. He's had sufficient therapy to use the barbed wire.
They've gotten past it.
And the closing angle of the Go Home show is one of my favorite little things. So, December 8th Impact Primetime Special. Abyss and Mitchell are in the ring. Mitchell talks about how if the barbed wire opens an artery, then you're dead. You're going to bleed out on the mat and die.
He's not wrong.
He isn't. And then lights out Sabu, but not just Sabu. When the lights come back on, all the ropes are replaced by barbed wire, which is a fucking awesome visual.
Yeah, it's an awesome visual, even if it's a little dumb.
But it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it's fine. I give it a pass.
It's so funny that the work that went into what was ultimately like a 10-second shot, where it's like, I presume they did this segment, lights out, Sabu shows up, runs them off, and then did another one, lights out, where they set up the barbed wire, and then lights out, Sabu shows up with the barbed wire, something like that, and then stitch them together, so that nobody knew what they were shooting when they shot it. But
shout out to my man on Twitter who was like, how did they do that?
yeah, they actually very, very quickly, they actually had barbed wire within the ropes, and they pulled the ropes away to reveal the barbed wire while the lights were out.
That's how I choose to believe.
Little do people know, when you actually go inside of a wrestling ring rope, there's barbed wire there. It's not very safe. I don't know why they do it.
It feels like something that Excalibur should mention.
Yeah, it's sometimes they're like, oh, they're cables, which means hitting them it hurts more. And then other times they're like, actually, you know what? Barbed wire in there. So when they can be multi-purpose, they can keep out animals in the days they're not being used for wrestling.
I mean, I've seen backyard wrestling rings that have had literal wire for the ropes. So.
See, I like, listen, you can be like, it's hokey nonsense, but also I think it's cool. It looks really cool.
I can forgive it even if I think it's a little hokey.
That brings us to the pay-per-view, the opening match, Abyss versus Sabu in Barbed Wire Massacre. So there's no ropes. The ropes have been replaced by barbed wire. There are barbed wire items at ringside.
It's the tits. I mean, it's the fucking tits. It rules, and it's awesome, and it's sick, and everyone should watch it. We got 4.5 on this. This pay-per-view's insane. We had a 4 3/4 and a 4.5 star match. We were talking about the best singles matches in TNA history. This is also in like the top 5.
Yeah, until there's a better one literally like 7 matches later.
It's crazy. Like, the consistency that this combination has is insane.
Because they're just like, this is a barbed wire match, and you'd be like, alright, the barbed wire is bad enough. Like, the nastiest part of this match is probably when Sabu just starts stabbing Abyss in the arm with a spike.
He goes too far, and you can see Abyss go, fucking stop.
If you ever look at Abyss's left arm in particular, you'll see scars, and it's not from the barbed wire, it's from that moment where he fucking stabbed the shit out of him with a spike.
Yeah, I love that Abyss is like, even Abyss like broke from him, was like, fucking man.
Dude, stop it.
I like that we see Shooter Sabu as his pants are ripped and you just see black tights and no knee pads and boots.
Yeah, that's where he starts taking down Abyss and keeping him in the middle of the ring to stay away from the barbed wire.
Yeah, I look forward to Sabu and Thatcher in Noah at some point.
It's like when Liger's mask is torn, he turns into Kishin Liger. When Sabu's pants are torn,
Shooter Sabu.
He turns into Shooter Sabu.
That's great.
It has all the barbed wire spots you'd expect. Like there's a drop toe hold into the barbed wire. There's a front suplex into the barbed wire. There's a like Sabu goes for like a bicycle kick off of a chair into the barbed wire.
There's some like stupid ass spots in this, and it's awesome.
Abyss press slams Sabu onto the barbed wire board. And then the finish is Abyss sets Sabu up back to a barbed wire board in the corner and goes for his big like charge. And Sabu steps out of the way. Abyss runs face first into the barbed wire, and then Sabu boots him onto another barbed wire board so that he has barbed wire boards on both sides of him. And then Sabu hits a little senton on Abyss's head region and pins him.
What a finish too. Like it's one of those things where it's like it's something little, but it feels like it's the culmination of the entire match.
Because it is the truth. It's like, what do you do as a finish in this kind of match that also incorporates the barbed wire? And the answer is trap him either side of a barbed wire board and jump at his head.
Yeah,
I do like that. Like they have to sit in the aftermath of this because they have to spend time taking the ropes down,
which actually helps it.
Yeah, but they really, because they'd have to spend like 10 minutes like really sitting in the aftermath as you see Abyss is being cut out. The crowd start chanting Abyss and start chanting thank you, and Mitchell is like shouting, "You conquered your fear, you conquered your fear," as he like overcame his fear of barbed wire. So like Abyss lost the match, and it's one of those things. It's like it's not if you lose, it's how you lose. And Abyss did not lose a single solitary thing through losing this match. In fact, he probably gained quite a lot from losing this match.
Exactly. Like Abyss has come out of this looking better so far.
Dave Meltzer gave it 2.5 stars.
Fucking dumb idiot. Stupid guy. Doesn't know anything about wrestling.
Like, he does say it's not his cup of tea, but they did an effective match. But fuck off with your 2.5 stars.
Yeah, this rocks. They've all been good.
A great rivalry. And a real like, everyone remembers the Barbed Wire Massacre because, well, it's great. But, like, the Unbreakable and Genesis matches are awesome as well. And then you get the Monsters Ball at Bound for Glory with Hardy and Rhino thrown in as well. It's a real cool little feud here through the end of 2005.
Yeah, it's one of those ones, underserved feud that maybe doesn't get its recognition, which is what we've said about the other matches so far, too.
And they do show a little backstage segment later of Abyss being stitched up.
Brutal.
There's some even worse footage.
It's really gross.
If you have the Turning Point DVD, there is some...
I do, that's how I watched this.
Yeah, there is some, like, even more gruesome footage. Like the one on the pay-per-view is alright, but they actually show him actually being stitched up in the DVD extras, and it's like, oh god. Oh.
Brutal.
And Mitchell's like hyping him up, and he actually gives him a hug, which is like, it's in theory really out of character, but I think it really works for that moment. It's like, oh, like, he actually gave him a hug.
You can also read it as manipulation if you really want
It's
to.
like, yeah, you lost and you got fucked up in barbed wire, but I'm still your friend, right? Hug?
Yeah, you need me. Look at here how I'm here to support you.
But in that moment, it felt like a nice little moment.
I have now switched to just having the WSW show on the second monitor. And I've gone from Dusty Rhodes and Bruiser Brody having like a brutal match to Matt Cardona and Eric Young having the most house show affair I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, you gotta bring him down to get him back up, or whatever that thing is that you can work ahead.
We're on like the third mid-match promo.
That's very Matt Cardona.
Where they're like, they have the mic. It's not even just talking, it's like full mic work. That being said, I want to put over Eric Young. Still has great gear.
Yeah, Eric Young's still great in general.
Yeah. I mean, like, he's good in this, but it's a house show match that I would rather die than watch live.